Hi, everybody. Today we're going to talk to you a little bit about hiring people. More specifically, we talked a little bit about that on our $1,000 an hour video a little while ago. So you can look up that. I think we covered more the reason why to hire. Today we're going to talk a little bit more about kind of who to hire or who we've had, kind of the types of people, not obviously individuals, because we can't all hire the same people. But that we've had success at hiring. And one of the things that I've recently taken on two new employees, 1099 contract people, the last, I don't know, month, 6 weeks, something like that. So, and I had heard that you need to hire sooner than you think you need to, because, and when you do hire, you're going to be like, why didn't I do this before? So, and that's true.
Yeah, she has preached that to the choir for a long time.
So, but also, it's easy to say, just hire somebody, but part of the difficulty for me was, okay, who do I want to hire and what do I want them to do? Like, what are the kind of the most important things? And then how can I make sure that things are systematized or whatever, so that they can take over those things without needing a lot of training from me, at least at this stage. I mean, obviously, depending on what you're hiring them to do, training needs are going to differ. Mm-hmm. But for me, I was wanting people to do pretty entry level kinds of things. So I hired one tech savvy kiddo to do my update all my websites and keep all that stuff under control. And then I've hired another that's more like an administrative assistant type of position. So, and she's helping me with especially right now, with a couple of the magazines that I recently purchased. So wrangling the writers and all that kind of stuff. So, and fortunately, it's kind of a case where I can add tasks to her load so we just started out with a few things, and then once she got the hang of those, then we just kind of keep adding hours and tasks to her. So that's kind of the plan moving forward, depending on what she wants and what there is to do and how everything goes. So I've been amazed. I didn't hire them to do a lot for me, but just like doing the website thing, that was an hour and a half, 2 hours a week is all that took me, or is all that's saving me. But the amount of productivity with higher dollar value tasks that I've been able to do because I'm not doing those tedious things, I've just been amazed. So you wouldn't think.
Your headspace too. You don't have to allocate the brain cells to go over there and remember to do that.
Yeah.
Which is a huge thing for some reason.
Yeah. And I wasn't expecting it to be, I was like, well, I don't know how much this is going to help. And I'm like, okay, well, all right. That was so.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah. It is definitely a multiplication of your time that you get from that. So, and so
I think
go ahead.
I think that's the way to start. Mm-hmm. You hired people kind of on an entry level. They were doing things that you were already doing, and you got to hand that off. I think so many people get it the other way around, and they hire the professionals, the people that they have to pay a lot of money per hour to do things that they should have already learned how to do themselves. I am 100% a fan of building your own website and doing your own SEO and all of that stuff, so that you know what it takes, and when you're getting screwed over if you hire somebody.
And just like,
you can teach them to do that for you.
Yeah. And that's the guy that I hired to do that for me. He has a degree in IT of some kind. I don't remember those specifics. So he's got kind of like a base knowledge of technology and all of that kind of stuff. But but it's what I hired him to do isn't really within his, wheelhouse. So, but I was comfortable that he was comfortable with technology, which is really mainly the main thing that I needed, was somebody that didn't see the back of an end of a website and go running away screaming.
Right? Yeah. Well, I did the same thing. It was like years ago. And I hired somebody who had gone to college for web design and just threw him into the middle of my website. And he was like, and he's trying to do something. I'm like, that's not how you do it. Do this, And then I wound up kicking him out of the chair and like, da 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 da. I was terrible. I didn't show him how to do it. I just did it. And like, well, this isn't working.
Yeah.
Because
Well,
even
and
if
yeah.
they're familiar,
Mhm.
if they haven't worked on your particular software or whatever you've got going on, then there's going to be some orientation.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the things, ironically, I'm volunteering at the moment for a local writers group, updating their website. And they use a different platform than I'm familiar with. So, and it's one that everybody loves. It's supposed to be great. I'm like, but it is not my thing.
Yep.
It gets rave reviews, so I'm not saying that it's, a bad thing, but I'm like, oh, I love WordPress.
I'm kind of so on WordPress. I like what it does. So
Yeah. Oh, well, I mean,
yeah, I'm
everything has its
grateful.
annoying features. There's,
Oh,
yeah.
and I've worked on several different platforms. So
Hmm. Yeah. So
yeah.
I think, having somebody that has tangential knowledge can be helpful, especially if you have a kind of a specific way that you want things to be done. Then also often hiring someone and then training them to do it your way is better than like you said, hiring a pro. And then you're like, no, that's not how I want you to do that. Like, but this is how it's done. Well, I don't care.
Who'd have thought?
Yeah. So,
Well, I did, last year I hired a pro for my website, but I had done 95% of the work myself. They just
mhm,
came in and they applied some design principles that had eluded me.
mhm,
And, it was much cheaper than if somebody had built the thing from the ground up.
yeah, yeah. So, and there are definitely times when you want a professional. So
Mm.
we're definitely not saying don't ever hire a professional to do things for you. So,
But I think most of our audience is really small, just getting started people.
mhm,
So, there's still that thing in your head that says you can't hire because you don't have enough work to give somebody, you don't have enough
mhm,
money, blah, blah, blah.
yeah,
And it just takes less than you think.
yeah,
It,
yeah,
it might not, you might have to hunt a little bit for the right person because not everybody's going to want to do that 1 or 2 hours a day for you, but
mhm,
somebody will.
mhm,
I like hiring stay-at-home moms who just need that little bit of something
mhm,
and a lot of flexibility and something on their resume so there's not a big gap while they're staying home.
yeah,
And I also like hiring business owners who don't quite have enough going on to really support themselves, but
mhm,
they also want the flexibility and
yeah. And hiring other business owners is a great thing when you can find
yeah.
somebody compatible, because they have an understanding of the kind of the chaos and flexibility that's required when you're a startup. Like it just, or when I mean, I'm what, 8 years in and it's still somewhat chaotic. So
Well, and they're learning so they can go, hey, I'm doing this. Hey, would you want to do this too in this business? Because we could set that up. I'm like, yeah.
yeah, yeah, it can be definitely a very mutually beneficial
Hmm.
situation. So because they're learning things, and especially I think if they've got a complementary business um, or do things similarly, I guess, so that's not a completely foreign concept. So, but
Right.
there's
They're probably already working on WordPress. You're working on WordPress. They've
mhm,
got an email service provider. You've got an email service provider. So,
yeah. And, you know, even if it's a different company or software or whatever that you're working with, the principles behind that are going to be very similar. So they're going to get what you're trying to do with the thing, which often isn't the most easy thing to communicate to somebody. And if someone gets it, then that's a lot easier for both of you than if they don't. So my absolutely. So
Yeah. So my big thing that I would not be without as a customer service person.
mm,
Everybody's got their thing that they don't want to do, and for me, that's what that is, and I'm terrible at it anyway. So that's who I hire first. I mean, if I have nobody else, I have somebody on customer service. So
yeah.
um, I don't know how Alice really works, but I don't do a standard interview. I just kind of they do an audition.
Mhm.
I take real customer service emails that I've received or comments on social media that were just like, what? And throw those at them and
What are
see
you
what
gonna
they
do with this?
say.
Yeah.
So yeah, our girl that we have now, we were looking at her thing and we're like, wow, that's what you say to them. Okay, we're learning. We were like, okay, she's gonna teach us a lot. And
Yeah. Well, and that's and both of my employees, I kind of hired with the understanding and the expectation. And these are people that I knew. So, you know, I already kind of knew who they were, you know, knew the kind of person that they are. Um, but and I figured that they would enjoy and be good at the job. But I also went into it with a, you know, let's try this for a while. And I didn't specify with them. I think if I was working with someone else, I would probably specify that. I mean, I think, I mean, the kind of thing that I was asking for, I couldn't really trial them like you were talking about.
yeah,
But it's kind of like, well, you just got to jump in there and do the thing, and then we can reassess and have an easy
probation.
out. Yeah, kind of, you know, a trial run, a trial
Right.
period that's paid, and all of
Yeah.
that. But you know, if it's not working out on either side, then you know, just let me know, and that'll be fine. So, or I will let you know, and that'll be fine. So,
Uh,
but and I think that um, that because working in and for a business owner, a small business owner, is not the same thing as your regular widget factory job where you clock in and you clock out. And um, so
yeah.
you're not always going to be doing the same thing every day. And it's not always, you know, things are going to have to change and pivot just because, you know, we might think as the business owner that, hey, this is going to really work. And then we get in there and, no,
Yeah.
or it worked, oh, this worked way better than we thought, but in a different way than we thought, and so we have to pivot. And that's just part of being in business, which is I think the fun part and the frustrating part. So but if you're expecting like 9 to 5, you know, widget factory kind of work, then um
And a lot of people would go, hallelujah.
yeah.
But it does kind of take an ability to just look around and see what needs to be done.
Hmm.
You do have to think a little bit if you're an employee of a really small business,
Yeah.
kind of gauge what's going on and figure it
Mhm.
out.
Yeah. And you know, I'm sure also you kind of have to read your employer. Some, you know, some people are more accepting of, you know, hey, I had this idea. What do you think about that than others? So
Yeah.
both Seneca and I are like, shoot, give it. We may say no, but we'd love to hear, you know, we want
Yeah.
all the ideas.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and then pivoting, every time you grow, you have to do things differently, because what's efficient when you're small is not efficient when you're big. And then there's all the increments up to that.
yeah.
So I've got a new girl. I hired her last month, and so I'm just kind of there for questions. I'm trying to stay out of her way, but I am reorganizing that place like crazy and trying to come up with new systems and 'cause she's new, so it doesn't really matter anyway. I'm not messing up her set in stone
Not
5
rocking her
years
world,
experience.
yeah. Yeah. So, and that's a good thing too, I think, um, to
I'm
to think
building
about when
shelves.
there is staff turnover, that, that this isn't it's an opportunity. Like, you may really hate to see them go, but it's also an opportunity that, that may be God's favor in your life and in theirs. They may be
Yeah.
moving on to something that's gonna be a better fit for them at this season in their life, and, so
Always, always look for the opportunity.
mhm. Yeah. So, because with God, there's not, I mean, bad things happen, but there's always an opportunity. So, and in this case, the loss of an employee can be, kind of a pain, but it's not um, it's not going to kill you.
Right.
And it could do great things. So, and just like in your case, it may be a fantastic thing because you might be able to develop some systems that you wouldn't have been able to otherwise, and she might come up with great, ideas of,
Oh, I'd have been able to. It's just that the other one might have gone kicking and screaming.
yeah. Well, and that's, yeah,
Probably not.
with
That's
less
yeah.
resistance, maybe, to put it
Oh, there we
that
go.
way.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, absolutely. So, hopefully we've given you guys, kind of some things to consider as you're looking to hire your first employees, or your 10th employee, or your 100th employee, whatever. And also kind of some things to consider if you've tried hiring people and it hasn't worked out very well for you. Maybe we've given you some tips to make that a much more successful thing for you in the future. So, we'll talk to you later.